Howdy do.
Howdy doody, partner.
We are back, guys. How's everyone's day? How's everyone's week?
You know, it is a Tuesday in Missouri.
And it's becoming spring officially, and it's so nice. I need some legitimate sunshine in my life.
You know, today was pretty nice. It was what, like 64, 65 and sunny?
Yep.
It was pretty nice.
Yeah. I'm just ready for that. I do like the weather where you can wear shorts and a hoodie or sweatpants and a tank top, but
right. We're not quite there.
We're still kind of creeping up on it.
Yeah, we need like 75 and sunny, and that would be perfect.
Yes.
Perfect.
So I did get some really good feedback on our collab with Dom from Horror House. Yes.
Oh, good. And?
Everyone seems to really love it. They love Dom.
Yes.
They really liked that we really switched things up and kind of took a break from like the normal serial killer to kind of play off just other murderous topics. Yes. So I had so much fun. Like even just going back there and re-editing and like listening to the little clips.
Yeah.
Such a good time.
Such a good time and such a good like episode. Like it was so interesting, kind of like you said, you know, to learn about other murderous topics such as animals. Who knew? Who knew? And
if you guys like that, we can't say anything yet, but we have got some really, really exciting stuff coming up that does include a collaboration.
Yeah, it could be a little...
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it could be true crime. It could be conspiracy theories. You know, it could be all the above.
Either way, I'm so excited. I can't wait till we can announce it. So you guys stay tuned. Tell all your friends to subscribe to us and follow us to keep up with everything. So
Yes. So excited. Well, any other news that you want to talk about, or are you ready to jump in?
Only other thing was, I don't know if you know this, it's been a really long time since I've bought like instant mac and cheese, or really just mac and cheese in general. Like I try to avoid keeping carbs in my house.
Right.
But I went to the grocery store today and they sell, drum roll, until my brain stops moving, Flamin' Hot Cheetos mac and cheese.
Do they really?
You better believe I bought some.
Have you eaten it or have you tried it?
No, because again, I haven't bought something that like, and I also don't keep milk in my house, and apparently you need milk.
Of course.
So I gotta go get milk. But
okay, well you better try it and give us a review on the next episode.
Okay. I will.
I'm interested.
Yep. But that's it. That's all my news.
All right. Well, I don't have any news, but before I even do the disclaimer, I want to say this episode, like full on trigger warning for the entire episode. So hope you're ready.
Do you want to do the something spiked?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So what are you sipping on?
I am sipping out of our Something Spiked mug. Cheers, bitch.
Yes, I have my mug too.
I made a skinny version of a cherry limeade with tequila. So
nice.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a huge fan of Quirk. Mm-hmm. They came out with 4 new flavors.
Yeah.
I don't know if you knew that. But the one I'm drinking is key lime coconut.
Ooh, I haven't tried that one yet.
So good. So I put it in my mug and cheers. Okay, so I was thinking drinking word. What if we did like kid or child or both?
That's fine. Child will work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll work. All right. So our videos and podcasts are for entertainment purposes. All information discussed is found on the internet. Keep in mind, we will talk all things sinister that may not be suitable for all audiences. Viewer and listener discretion is advised. So we are talking about Albert Fish, my friends. aka Hamilton Howard, aka the Gray Man, aka the Brooklyn Vampire, aka the Moon Maniac, aka the Boogey Man, aka the Werewolf of Wysteria, and many more. Many more. Okay. I didn't say them all, but there are many more.
What's his most popular of his like code names?
Probably the Gray Man.
Okay.
Yeah, probably the Gray Man. That's what I would say, throughout the story. But, if you ask different people, they say different things. And you'll kind of hear why we have so many names for him.
Okay. I'm so excited.
Yeah. So he was a serial killer, a rapist, a child molester, and a cannibal between June 1924 and June 1928 with potentially 100 victims.
Oh my gosh, in 4 years?
Yeah.
Wow.
He says that he murdered a child in every state.
Wow, he's like those people that collect the state coins. It's just
or like a magnet. It's children. So, he was born May 19th, 1870 in Washington, D.C. to Randall and Ellen Fish. So, a Taurus here is kicking off Taurus season. Whoop, whoop. Whoop. So, talking particularly about Tauruses and serial killers, this is a quote. It states, "Tauruses are devoted, patient, and hardworking. These traits, which make them for a great personality and someone who is stable and good-natured, but an evil manipulator and someone who is not." It then says, Taurus serial killers are often possessive, uncompromising, and intolerable of any sudden change or complications. Albert Fish, particularly his qualities, he was stuck in his own comfort zone. So he only saw his own view in his own way. He became obsessed with many things, including self-mutilation and cannibalism. But he was loyal to those that he loved and cared about, and stubborn and blinded by all of his own obsessive desires.
Damn.
Yeah.
Ooh, so, it gives me like the chills.
Yeah, it's creepy. So kind of like what it said, Tauruses are strong-willed, they're devoted, they're patient, they're hardworking, great traits for someone who's stable, but the complete opposite for somebody who's not.
Yikes.
The Times of India are favorite. I feel like they should sponsor us or something. But Taurus natives... Yeah. Taurus natives have a strong desire for social and corporate stability. They have a strong desire for extravagance, contentment, and great things, which can lead to intense neediness. Taurus natives, like the bull, who represent their sign, are prone to anger, and once they are enraged, they can be terrifying and brutal with no boundaries. So, wanted to throw that little tidbit in there because you're going to hear a lot of that with Albert Fish.
All I can think about right now is you ordering Starbucks at Target that day and you were about to freak the fuck out. Guys, one day I'm telling that story on this podcast because you want to talk about someone who flipped.
I have zero patience for idiocracy, okay? I seriously do. I cannot handle ignorance. It literally makes my blood boil. And so, I'm sorry. Your job is to make a damn coffee drink. And you can't even do that.
Oh my God. Anyways.
So brutal when angered.
Yes.
Terrifying and brutal.
Okay. Back to the serial killer.
Right? You know what's funny though? My mom will say whenever I'm mad, I can cut you with a knife. right? Like that is just how, I guess, like mean I am, but I don't say mean things. I guess it's just like my tone and my, and the delivery of it. Hence why you were like cracking up that day. You're like,
my God. I could not breathe. I was laughing so hard. And this girl at Starbucks was just like, oh, shit. Like,
yep. She's like, here we go. Here we go. So jumping, into his childhood, he was the youngest of 4 children. He was abandoned at the age of 5, and was sent to an orphanage because his father had died and mother could no longer care for him or the other children.
Wait, how many siblings did he have?
4.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Hey, one second. Just be careful when you set your drink down.
Is it loud?
Your mic is rattling.
Oh, is it?
That mysterious boom noise that you wonder what it is. It's that.
Okay, got it. I'll just hold it in my lap. So apparently this orphanage was abusive, not shocked, to the boys. And Albert Fish said that he was exposed to regular beatings and sadistic acts within this orphanage. Whenever he was asked about the orphanage, he said, quoted, "I was there till I was nearly 9, and that's where I got started wrong. We were unmercifully whipped. I saw boys doing many things they should not have done. But unfortunately, instead of this like terrifying him, this is where he started associating pain with pleasure."
Oh.
At 9 years old.
At 9.
From 5 to 9. Yeah, from 5 to 9. Also talking about, his childhood, his family had a lot of mental illness. So his uncle was diagnosed with mania. His brother was sent to a state mental institution. His sister was diagnosed with mental illness, and his mother as well. She often had hallucinations. So mental illness throughout his entire family.
That's crazy too, especially for the times.
I know.
I feel like back then, if you like had a bad day, they'd be like, "Oh, she's insane." But for like mania and all of that to be recognized, I feel like that's kind of different. But.
Isn't it different? Well, and I think what happened was because there were so many interviews, probably now, psychiatrists today say, this is what it was. But, the events of what he said, maybe my mom saw things or, whatever. Yeah. So they've like correlated the two. But you're right. Like at that time, mental illness wasn't really a thing per se. Except they did have the mental institutions, but it was a lot different than what they are today.
That's what I was going to say is maybe they did have mental health back then. You were just treated like an absolute demon if you had like spouts of depression. So
right.
Yeah.
So in 1880, his mom got him out of the orphanage. So he was right about 10 years old. During this time, unfortunately, he was not given proper education, and he kind of learned how to work with his hands. So he watched, carpenters, and he watched people come in and out of the orphanage, like painting and doing all these things. So he wasn't really educated. And whenever he got home, he met a boy, a friend, but this turned into a relationship. Not a friendship. So this boy ended up introducing Albert into drinking urine and eating feces.
Oh my God.
At 10 years old.
He's just like in a sexual way or just in like, hey, let me piss in your mouth. I don't know.
A little bit of both, sexually and like, hey, this is what I like to enjoy doing. So do you want to do it with me?
And did you say eating feces?
Eating.
Listen, y'all got some weird kinks. I don't know who out there is eating feces.
This is where R. Kelly learned it from.
2 girls, 1 cup, baby.
Yep, that's it.
Disgusting.
It's so gross. You know, like, I can't even imagine. Like,
listen, I will kink shame that. I will gladly kink shame eating someone's shit.
100%. That's fucking gross. Like, I wouldn't even eat my own shit if it was the last thing to eat.
I would die.
I would die. I would too.
I'd be like, today is my day. I volunteer. I'm not eating that shit.
Not eating that shit, literally. He also, at this time, started his obsession with self-mutilation. So at 10 years old, he would put needles, like little needles, into his groin and abdomen, as well as he would put nails on the end of like a paddle or the end of a wooden spoon and hit himself with it. But he obviously received pleasure from this.
How? Like,
I don't
how?
know.
Like,
I don't know.
Oh, my God.
Mm-hmm.
Whew.
Yep. So remember the story, trigger warning? Yeah, trigger warning for the rest of the story because it only gets worse. Again, at 10 years old, he would visit bathhouses, like public bathhouses. So again, we're in the 1880s. So people didn't have like showers in their house, right? So you would bathe with like a bucket of water or go to a public bathhouse.
People in the 80s?
1880s. Oh, God.
Listen, Alexa, I'm really bad at history, but people in the 80s had showers.
No, bitch. 1880s.
Okay, well, don't hate me when I say this. And so earlier when you said the 20s, you were talking about the 1820s or the 1920s?
I never said the 20s.
When he was... Oh, never mind. You know what? Just pretend like I'm not here. You said 24 to 28. There's something 24 to 28.
I said 1924 to 1928.
Okay, we just haven't gotten to there yet. Okay, so
no,
in my
bitch,
head,
we're talking about his childhood.
Okay. God damn. Okay.
You're already drunk.
I am here. We are talking about the Everybody, listen, you need to pay attention. It's the 1880s, not the 1980s.
Get it together.
They did not have showers. Okay.
Get it together. So he would visit public bathhouses and he would spy on boys undressing at 10 years old.
Gross.
So 10 years later, 1890s.
Not the 1990s.
Not the 1990s. He was 20 years old. He ended up moving to New York City. And this is when all shit hits the fan. Kind of literally. He started working as a prostitute. And this is where he started molesting boys. So he would lure boys into from their homes into his home. And he would torture them. Then he would rape them. He typically liked to use a paddle with sharp nails or sharp objects on the end. And he would torture the boys with that. And then, of course, he would murder them. And he then started eating them shortly after, which we'll talk about more in detail when and how.
Oh, my gosh. I feel like we've had a lot of cannibalist stuff lately, but it's so interesting to me.
Mm-hmm. Like, this is insane. 8 years later, 1898, he is 28 years old. He married a woman that his mom arranged. So she arranged a marriage between this woman named Anna and him. Anna was 9 years younger, so she was 19 at the time whenever they married. They ended up having 6 children together. It's stated that he never abused his children, but throughout, having all these children and during their childhood, he raped and tortured other children.
You literally just said child 5 times in a row.
Yep, you picked a good word.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I mean, thank goodness he didn't do that to his own kids, but like the disconnect is always really strange to me.
Well, we'll kind of hear about that because I don't know if it's factual, if he truly didn't. And we'll kind of hear a little bit more about that.
Okay.
During this time, you know, whenever he was younger, of course, he didn't get a good education or proper education. He learned more how to work with his hands. And if you think about those times, kind of makes sense. You know, a lot of people didn't finish school. So he worked as a house painter. So he would paint houses. And this is where he would find his next victims. So, you know, his customers, if they had children, these would be the victims that he would rape and torture.
Oh my gosh. That's scary.
Mm-hmm. Summer 1910, so we are, you know, fast forwarding 12 years. He met a man named Thomas Kedden. Kedden was 19 years old. They became sexually involved, primarily sadomasochistic relationship. So what that means is, you know, obviously inflicting pain and receiving pleasure, you know, from it, you know, from each other. But excruciating pain, not just like a little spank or a choke here and there, like blood being drawn near torture level.
I was going to say, to be fair, I think there is a spectrum of sadomasochism, if I'm not wrong, where it's like, just like you said, there's like spanking, maybe a little choking, but then there's like... Hey,
blood drawing and biting and ripping a nipple off. Yeah.
Oh, God. So it sounds like he was on that side of
the farthest side. I think he's the one who created this. So seriously, it's kind of wild. So during the beginning of the relationship, it seemed to be that everything was consensual. But then 10 days later... Albert lured Kedden into an abandoned farmhouse and he locked him up, tied him up, and ended up torturing him for 2 weeks. He tied him up, cut off half of his penis, and said, quote, "I shall never forget his scream or the look he gave me."
Dude, how did he stay alive? That had to have been later on.
I don't know.
How do you cut off half of someone's dick and live?
This was towards the end of it because he said that he wanted to kill him. He said, "I wanted to kill Kedden, cut up his body," but instead, he didn't do that because he didn't want the meat to spoil in the middle of summer. So he spared him his life and he poured peroxide on his penis, put some Vaseline on it, wrapped it in a rag, and gave Kedden a $10 bill and then kissed him goodbye. Sounds like a love story.
What? That is disgusting.
I know.
That is sick.
I know. The poor guy.
The poor guy is probably like, just go ahead and kill me. Finish it. I don't want to live with half a penis.
Yeah, later in an... Right.
People with half a penis, but...
Right. Can you imagine? Yeah, like, poor guy. But apparently later in an interview, Albert Fish said that Kedden wasn't all there intellectually, and so he was, like, the perfect victim for him.
Which, honestly, probably made it even more torturous. I mean, okay, I don't want to say this and, like, make assumptions, but it's like... You know, people who are fully there, they can they can use manipulation tactics when they're captured. They can control themselves. And I feel like if you're a little not that mentally capable,
you can't do that.
You scream more, you act out more, you're confused. I mean, just assuming, but that's so sad.
I know. So sad. But he did live, I don't know how long or healthy life or whatnot, but he lived, so...
Oh my God.
I know.
Therapy wasn't really a thing back then, so.
No, therapy wasn't a thing at all. So
I can't imagine.
1917, so 7 years later, his wife left him for another man. She was having an affair. She took all of the belongings, but left the kids. So he came home one day from work, and the house was cleaned out, but all the kids were there.
I'm sorry. What?
I know.
She's like, I want that bedroom set, and I'm, I like these dishes. Kids, get over there. You're staying.
Yeah, you're staying. Sorry about ya.
What a terrible person.
Seriously, a terrible person. So a couple of days later, she decided that she needed to come home. She needed a place to stay because they didn't have anywhere to go. And so Albert was like, well, you can stay, but he can't. And so she hid him in the attic and would sneak food to him and, go have relations with him. Albert eventually found out and said, nope, this is done. He needs to go. You need to go. And so they left, and the kids and Albert never saw her again.
Oh my gosh, I hate this lady.
I know.
I hate her.
I know. It's sad. This is where, the self-harm got even more intense. So, not only was he sticking needles in his groin, but he would use wool. So he would get wool, like a wool piece of a wool sweater, or, whatever. He would soak it in lighter fluid, stuff it in his ass, and light it on fire.
What?
Light it on fire, Cadence. Yeah, so that term, if you eat Taco Bell and you have to go to the bathroom and then your asshole's on fire. Well, literally, his asshole was on fire.
Do not bring Taco Bell into this story. Taco Bell is sacred.
It's true. It's true. The next day, yeah.
Okay, so how is this guy still alive? Did he just look like a mangled mess?
Yes, and you'll see why they called him the Gray Man.
Oh my god,
yeah.
Lighting your asshole on fire? How did you... Because, okay, you said he soaked it in
lighter fluid.
Because that would get on your skin.
Yeah.
If it's in your butt. And then how did you put the fire out?
Can you imagine, taking a shit after you have a burnt asshole?
I can't. I just can't. Let's start with step one. Putting wool in my ass. That's my first issue.
That would be itchy.
That is done. After that, I'm done.
I'm done.
So the rest of the stuff doesn't even exist for me.
Right. You guys should definitely look up the X-ray of Albert Fish's pelvis. I'll show you here for those of you that are watching.
The X-ray of his pelvis after he lit his ass on fire?
Well, whenever he died, someone obviously they X-rayed his pelvis because he said that he stuck needles in his pelvis. So,
I'm in pain.
Yeah.
I'm hurting.
Yeah. So this is
listening to this.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. So you can see all the needles.
Oh my god.
In his pelvis.
Oh,
is that not wild?
They are in there.
They are in there. In there.
He keep from hitting something important.
Dude, I don't know. It's wild. But this is where the self-mutilation obviously took a turn for the worst. He was also apparently at this time teaching his children how to play games. And we'll talk a little bit more about those games later, but apparently they were molestation games and Sado and, all that nasty shit.
With him or with each other?
All the above.
Oh.
Yep. And this is also when he started eating raw meat. He was preparing himself for cannibalism. and his obvious obsession with it.
Dude.
Yeah. So the wife leaving him, Anna, you were a bitch. You should have stayed because none of this would have fucking happened. His asshole would have never been lit.
No, she should have left. She just should have taken the kids.
That too. That too. Wild, right?
Yeah. Now, this raw meat thing, I'm probably going to be on board with, just as long as it's not pork and chicken.
Well,
I could eat a raw steak.
You have to have it seared. You can't just take it.
That's what steak tartare is. There is definitely a fly. I don't know if you could just see that in my webcam. But
no.
It flew like right in front of the webcam. I have definitely eaten raw steak. Not a big
not
piece.
Cooked. Like not cooked. Like you took it out of the package and you took a bite.
Well, it was at a restaurant, but they thinly slice it. You can only eat so much of it, obviously, because otherwise it'll make you
steak
sick.
tartare. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Delicious. I have two, which is good, but yeah. Okay. Anyway, it's not eating a human. Not eating a human. So, 1919. He was on the prowl for his first murder. So keep in mind, he hadn't murdered anyone yet. He was preparing to murder and he was only torturing. So he was on the prowl. He was primarily looking for disabled orphans or homeless children.
What the fuck? Like, leave the kids out of this.
Well, the rest of this is all about kids. So he was primarily looking for, kids that would not be missed. He stabbed a disabled boy in Washington, D.C., wanted to just see what would happen, and obviously it killed him. He then started paying boys to help lure children to him, so the more the merrier, and at this time, he was torturing and mutilating these children with many objects. He had a murder kit, including a meat cleaver, a butcher knife, and a handsaw so he could mutilate and cut up these children.
Oh my God. Wow. It just keeps going.
Yep, we're not done. July 11th, 1924, 5 years later, he saw a young girl named Beatrice. She was playing on her parents' farm in Staten Island, New York. He tried to give her money to come with him. She almost did, but Mom ran out and was like, "What the hell are you doing? Get off of my property." And he ran off. However, he came back later that night and was sleeping in the family barn. Dad went out to the barn for some reason, saw him there, held him at gunpoint, and made him leave. The family had said this is where the gray man comes into play. The family called the police and said he looked so gray. We call him the gray man. And so that's where this term or this name was given to him.
Is that from eating all the raw meat? Like, why? I forget what it is that makes your skin turn gray.
Malnourishment. Really. Yeah. So if you see a picture of him, you can kind of see why. I mean, he looks a little emaciated, like his cheeks are sunken in, his eyes are sunken in. So it's kind of hard to see. It's like not really focusing, but
looks like a nightmare.
Yeah, it's pretty scary. So yeah.
Yeah, no thanks.
3 days later, July 14th, there was a 9-year-old boy. He went missing. His name was Francis. His parents reported him missing whenever he didn't come home from playing catch with friends in Staten Island, New York. His body was found hanging from a tree by his home. He was raped, strangled with his own suspenders. Also had deep lacerations to his legs and stomach, but his left hamstring had barely any skin left on it. Albert Fish had planned to castrate the boy, but didn't because he heard something approaching. He first initially stated whenever he got caught that he did not murder this boy. but then later said that he did and said that he wanted to castrate the boy.
Okay. First off, walking by and seeing anything hanging in a tree is terrifying, even if it's not brutally beaten and massacred.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's something about it hanging that's different from it just being like lying on the ground, I think.
Right. I agree.
But that is a ton of time of effort to
and planning.
His hamstring was out. Oh, God.
Yeah. So the friends of Francis, that were playing catch with him, stated that they saw a man who was gray. So again, they used the term gray man. Francis's mother, obviously, she lost her son. She said she saw a similar man earlier that day, and quote, he came shuffling down the street, mumbling to himself and making queer motions with his hands. I saw his thick gray hair and his drooping gray mustache. Everything about him seemed faded and gray. So Mom saw him earlier that day, and I'm guessing queer motions are like jack-off motions, right? With his hands.
Well, but
or rubbing himself.
Queer back in those days still probably meant different.
Right. Could have been.
But
could have also been sexually from what I looked up. So it could have been.
Could have been. Or like bouncing your hands. I don't know. I don't want to.
Yeah, I don't think it was that. But
he wasn't like, "Hey, bitch."
Right. Hey. Yeah, so Mom saw him, earlier that day, which is sad, and then unfortunately she lost her son. So, many people during this time said that they saw a gray man like luring around Staten Island as well as other parts of New York. So, this is where he got the name Gray Man.
That's creepy.
It's very creepy.
The description of it is like, it's not just like, oh, we're looking for a 6-foot brown hair. It's like, no, we're looking for someone who's gray.
Like we're looking for a gray man, like someone who looks gray. Can you imagine?
A queer walk. I really want to know what they meant. I want to know. I need some clarification.
I know, right? So February 11th, 1927, 3 years later, there were two brothers playing in an apartment hallway in Brooklyn, New York, a 3-year-old and a 12-year-old. They were playing with a 4-year-old neighbor kid. The 12-year-old decided to go inside the apartment. The two boys disappeared, the 3 and 4-year-old. Later that evening, the 3-year-old was found on the rooftop of the apartment building, and when asked what happened to his friend, the other boy, he said the Boogey Man took him.
Oh, God, that gave me chills. Am I going to have nightmares from this story? You didn't tell me the story was scary, too. Okay. Am
I going to have nightmares?
The cannibal shit I can handle, but as soon as you say Boogey Man, I'm out.
I'm scared.
I literally keep looking over because it's
oh my God,
dark over there.
Yeah.
Okay, we're fine. It's fine.
We're fine. You're fine. The other boy's body, unfortunately, has never been found. Fish claimed the responsibility of it later in a confessional letter. I'm only going to read bits and pieces of this letter. It's very, very hard to stomach, and it's very long. But one thing that Albert Fish did do is he confessed to every single one of his murders whenever he did get caught in full detail. Full detail. So, bits and pieces of what this says. He says that he brought him to Riker Avenue. There was a house that was abandoned. He said that he stripped the boy naked, tied him, gagged him with a dirty rag. He said that he ended up torturing the boy. He whipped the boy from the behind with nails in the whip, watching the blood run down from, blood run down his legs. Cut off multiple pieces of the kid's body, ended up putting those body parts in different bags to use for different recipes, and stated, that he ate every part of the body except the bones. And then he says at the very end, he called the little boy's penis his little monkey. And he called his balls peewees. And he said that he could not eat it, that he threw those in the toilet. So I'm paraphrasing a lot. And if you want to look it up, you're more than welcome to look up the full confessional letter that he wrote.
What a sick piece of shit. Seriously.
Yeah.
That is...
Yeah.
And, okay, let's say you did do all of those things, but to,
brag about it.
To brag and, tell it with such pride and to go into those kind of details, it's like...
Yeah, of a 4-year-old boy.
Oh,
yeah.
God,
I know. Yeah.
Man, so sad.
It is sad. And, at this time, he's continually searching for children that he can, torture and eat. And he was primarily searching ads in the newspaper. Those who wanted, or those that needed work done in their house, or those that needed a job. Primarily young boys that needed work as well. So he found his next victim. There was a man or a young boy who put in an ad in the paper looking for work. His name was Edward Budd. Unfortunately, Edward was not his next victim. His younger sister, Grace Budd, was. So on May 25th, 1928, this is when he found that ad in the paper. He's 58 years old at this time. He responded to the ad in the paper of the young boy looking for work in Manhattan, New York. Showed up to the house using an alias, Frank Howard. So again, earlier we said Harold Howard, and here's another name, Frank Howard. He said that he was a farmer from Farmingdale, New York, and that he was primarily, looking for someone to help work on the farm. He was interested in Edward. Edward was looking for work, and Fish was going to hire him, aka take him back to his farm, torture him, kill him, and eat him. But as he was talking to Edward and the family, he saw 10-year-old Grace, kind of shy, hiding behind her parents. And after multiple conversations and multiple days of interactions, he had left and gone back. Ended up deciding that he was going to kill Grace and eat her. He convinced her parents that he was in town for his niece's birthday. And again, this is like the second or third encounter of being over at their house. Said that he was going to his niece's birthday and asked if 10-year-old Grace could come along. Kind of said like, hey, they would get along. They would be good friends. Why don't she come, to my niece's birthday party? And they're like, all right. They let her. They never saw her again. The story is that he took her back to an abandoned house in upstate New York, and he tells all the details in a confessional letter.
Oh my God. And
yeah.
Where are the police? Are they not suspecting anything at this point?
Not yet, because the parents let Grace leave with him. So a couple of days after Grace didn't return back, they contacted, the police and said that Grace was missing. And we'll talk about that. I'm going to read bits and pieces of this confessional letter. But this is his words. On Saturday, June 3rd, 1928, I called you on 406 West 5th Street. I brought you pot cheese and strawberries. We had lunch. Grace sat on my lap and kissed me. I made up my mind to eat her. On the pretense of taking her to a party, you said she could go. I took her to an empty house in Westchester I had already picked out. When we got there, I told her to remain outside. She picked wildflowers. I went upstairs, stripped all of my clothes off. I knew if I did not, I would get her blood on them. When all was ready, I went to the window and called her. Then I hid in a closet until she was in the room. When she saw me all naked, she began to cry and tried to run down the stairs. I grabbed her and she told me she would tell her mama. First, I stripped her naked. How she did kick, bite, and scratch. I choked her to death, then cut her in small pieces so I could take my meat to my rooms. I cooked and eat her. How sweet and tender her little ass was, roasted in the oven. It took me 9 days to eat her entire body. I did not fuck her, though. I could have. I wished. She died a virgin.
Oh, my God. I have literally never heard anything more disgusting in my whole life.
And that's not even the entire letter.
Like, what?
Yeah.
How?
And he had children at this time. 6 children.
I just don't know how a human brain gets that far lost.
That far demented and fucked up. I mean, again, kind of going back to Taurus's, he became obsessed. And, I would say I would agree with like that. Tauruses, we do become obsessive, but in different aspects. So, like, for example, like I'm doing my like healthcare like kick right now, like my plan, right? And whenever I do this, I do get like super obsessive, like with my meal plan and with my workout and stuff like that. But at least my obsessions are like healthy obsessions, right?
You're not fucking
eating children.
Kids.
Yeah. But it's just like what that article said. Those that are sane are okay, right? They turn those obsessions into positives. But those that are mentally unstable, those obsessions become evil.
It's just, I've just never heard a more disgusting story.
Yeah.
In my whole life.
Yeah. And this is one that a lot of people don't cover because of how bad it is.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, what was that slave owner that you did, remember?
Oh, yeah, Delphine LaLaurie.
Yeah, it's like her. A lot of people don't cover her because of how
so
all the nasty things that she did.
Yeah, and I think it's important because these sickos are real and they do exist and they're always going to exist and they always have existed. It's just I know. Just can't. And I think, for research purposes and the justice for the family, I'm glad these people recounted what happened to prove that they did do it.
Right.
But the details of what he did, that is sickening to recount. And I'm sure the family has heard all of this and that's just awful.
Yeah. So the police investigated this letter specifically because he sent this to the family just days later after she went missing. They couldn't determine for sure if he had actually eaten Grace, but obviously he's clearly obsessed with cannibalism, and he had acted on cannibalism before, so they kind of put two and two together. Albert Fish was known to be a liar as well. It's said that he had hallucinations also. So shortly after his wife had left, he had hallucinations that she was there. His children state that he would consistently talk to somebody, but he wasn't talking to anybody. But if you ask him who he was talking to his wife, Anna.
I would throw the psycho book at this guy and be like, you
Right.
had everything.
Right.
Ugh.
Right.
And maybe some demon possession, because it's like beyond sick.
Well, we'll talk a little bit about that too.
Ooh, great. I can't wait to be more scared.
So the letter that he wrote this letter on was written on a specific type of paper that was from the New York Private Chauffeurs Benevolent Associate Group, right? And it had the seal on it, okay? Police determined that this paper was left behind by a specific janitor from a company at this rooming house. And if we talk about a rooming house, it's kind of like a hostel, okay?
Oh, okay.
So at the same house, a man named Albert H. Fish was renting a place, okay, in the city. Of course, there was strong resemblance between Albert Fish, seeing a picture of him, and a picture of this Frank Howard, who he had said he was to the family, right? So police decided to set up an interview with Albert. When asked about Grace, he instantly caved in, didn't even deny it. He wanted someone to ask him about it so he could tell the story of what happened. He even said to the investigators that he went there to kill the older brother, Edward. That's who he wanted until he saw Grace.
Gross.
Yeah. He then discussed the details of the murder with from the 3-year-old boy that he murdered and that he murdered and ate. He also talked about Billy, the other 9-year-old boy that he hung from the tree, and others that he had killed. This is where he had said that he killed over 100 children, one in each state, which I don't think that's true. I truly think there's no way in that time that he would have been able to travel all across the United States, but I definitely think he killed more than 50 children.
Well, it's also not true because there's only 50 states. So,
I know.
Kill over 100 kids, one in each state.
Yeah, right. Right. So, clearly there was mental illness in his family,
Also,
and he was mentally unstable.
Has he ever gone to Alaska or Hawaii? Probably not.
Yeah, he walked there.
No, yeah, I forgot. That's just an easy walk.
Easy peasy. So he went to trial, obviously. March 11th, 1935, he was in White Plains, New York, on trial in Westchester County. His defense argued that he was legally insane because he had heard voices in his head from God telling him to kill children. He also heard voices in his head from God telling him that he needed to sacrifice these children in order for God to forgive him of his sins.
So God is like, hey, you need to kill these kids.
You're fucked up, and then I'll forgive you.
But I'll forgive you if you also kill more.
Right. Yeah. So...
Wonder what part of the Bible that is, where God says you should kill kids.
Kill children.
Kill more to forgive
and sacrifice
yourself.
them. Yeah, exactly.
Jeez.
They use many testimonies, to prove to the jury that he was mentally ill. The jury didn't believe this, and he was considered to be a psychopath. with multiple levels of psychosis. Many witnesses testified against him. So not only, the families of the children that he had killed, but many eyewitnesses that saw the gray man or the Boogey Man. One particularly being his own daughter testified against him. She was 17 years old at the time. She said that he taught her and her brothers several games involving child molestation and masochism.
Gosh, I just hate that it's all kids. It's so
I know.
sad.
So the judge found him sane and guilty and sentenced him to death, to execution. So January 6, 1936, he was electrocuted at 11:09 p.m. at the Sing Sing Correctional Facility in Ossining, New York.
Whew, that was probably our heaviest story. I'm just going to throw it out there that was probably the heaviest.
Yeah, I would say, him and David Parker Ray, they're probably the top two that are pretty bad.
Oh.
Whenever I listened to this story years ago, I just remember... I just remember it took so long for me to get through the story just because of the kids, and specifically that little girl, Grace. I think the story that I had listened to read through, and I have chills like talking about this, but it read through the entire letter, and it talked about how he peeked out the window and he watched her pick wildflowers and, all those little details and stuff like that. And I was just thinking to myself, I'm like, there are seriously like sick fucks out there that like truly get off on this shit.
You cannot be too careful. And I mean, with who your babysitters are, with the people that you let into your, just like him, like the people you let into your house to repair shit, or who running into the gas station to pay for your gas. Like, you just have to watch your back.
And I feel like anymore with like kids nowadays, especially like kids are getting cell phones younger and younger each day, and it's like, how many times do you pass a kid and they're on their phone and not even paying attention to what's going on around them? You know what I mean? And so like parents should definitely be teaching kids, like, pay attention to your surroundings. Like, don't just be on your phone, because you can easily be picked up and snatched by an Albert fish.
Seriously?
Every parent, tell your kids the story about Albert fish. No, don't do that. But
read them the letters. Read them
the letters of the Boogey Man.
Oh my God. That is like a real life Boogey Man. That is so sad. It is so scary. Ugh. It's...
Yeah.
I usually find like serial killers' statements to be very interesting, especially, was it Ted Bundy did a lot? The last guy that I did a lot.
Ed Kemper.
The chessboard killer.
Yeah.
He did a lot. But they're interesting, and while they are violent and gruesome, but this is just disgusting. It is vulgar.
All the details.
And you can tell he said things like picking the wildflowers. Like, that was showing I chose an innocent girl.
Right.
Like, it was almost him wanting to paint a picture of how, of what he took away. And I think that's what makes it so even worse. Like,
completely agree. I will say that Aries are more prone to be serial killers than Tauruses, even though you all will hear that the Taurus serial killers seem to be a lot more brutal than Aries
she's trying
serial
to defend
killers.
herself.
So
she's trying to defend herself and put me down at the same time. And here's the thing. we both agreed upon this was our most violent one yet. So
I know, I'm just saying. I gotta prove my point.
Well, maybe maybe there are more Aries. We were number 4 on the list. However,
you were number 4.
That was a doozy.
Right.
It's gonna be hard as far as violence to like top that, or just disgustingness.
I know, it's so gross. So that was Albert Fish, friends.
Holy shit. Okay, well, wow, great story. You did a great job. You kept your shit together. Meanwhile, I was over here like but moving on, guys. Have you checked out the new merch? In fact, this isn't new, but I am wearing our cropped hoodie.
Yes.
If you're looking.
Yes. I love that cropped hoodie so much.
I do too. So, listen, guys. Here is how it works. I'm going to give you the big secret.
Give them the secret.
How do people do podcasts? And they're like, how do you make money from it? Okay, well, one, you can join our Patreon. We have a $1, $5, and $10 donation. You can participate. You can talk to us. You can send us messages. We send you messages.
Like the $5 is one Starbucks a month. Like that is nothing.
That's nothing. So quit being a cheapskate. Get on Patreon.
Donate to your girls.
Money. Yeah. The best part about it is, in my opinion, that you get an unlimited discount on our merch, which
at all times.
At all times. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
The other way is to buy our merch. So we just put out a bunch of really freaking cute phone cases, AirPod cases, and then a new True Crime and Podcasts and Chill crew neck that comes in all these awesome colors. So you can find all of that, link in our bio. Please go and do that. Please, please, please. What you can do for free, is you can click the actual subscribe button. It helps us click subscribe. Even if you never listen to us again, just click the subscribe button and just ignore us. I don't even care.
Yeah. Subscribe and share to all of your friends and family, because that will help us. And of course, support the podcast. I mean, if you truly love us, support us and rep our merch. Leave
a quick review. Like, it takes 2 seconds to be like, okay, I'll listen again, maybe. Okay, perfect. Leave that. Click send, submit. Just as long as it's 5 stars. I don't care what else you say.
Right. Yes, absolutely. Awesome.
So,
also supporting our sponsor, Color Up CBD. So if you do like CBD, whether you want tinctures, whether you want skincare or not dog treats, but dog products as well, you can go to colorupco.com. Use code Sinister20 to get 20% off.
And they do have sales too. I just saw
all the time
one for $420, which this is not going to come out on. It's going to come out way after.
After $420, but they do have sales.
So go check out Color Up CBD. They're awesome. And we will see you next week. Happy Taurus season, everyone! Woo! You fucking crazies. Alexa is turning 37 this year. So
what the fuck? What is wrong with you?
Your turn, bitch.
Oh my god. No, I'm turning 30, bitch.
The big 30. Ooh.
I know. The big 30. It's so sad.
All right, guys. Well, we will see you next week.
Stay sinister, y'all. Peace out.